It's Search Warrant, and we're live. You can listen to us on Rumble, YouTube, iHeart, Softify, and anywhere else you get your videos, to include India, to include LinkedIn. Today we've got co-host Detective Jake Jacobs from Philadelphia Homicide and Officer Involved Shooting Unit. We've got veteran NCIS Special Agent Greg Highlands from Tennessee. We've got Greg. Greg, what's your last name for?
Glenn Fogarty.
Glenn Fogarty. I keep forgetting his name or mixing it up. Sorry, Glenn.
That's all right.
And I'm John Snedden, a veteran NCIS Special Agent. And our special guest is John Frankman, who's running for office in Florida. John, thank you for taking the time to see us. I know you only have an hour today, so we appreciate you taking the time to be with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John. I really appreciate it. Good to be back with you guys.
From before, I don't think Glenn was here. Glenn Fogarty, right, Glenn?
No,
have I got it right there? Okay, so I've got it right there. I don't think he was with us the last time.
No, I was not.
Okay, and Glenn is a pistol, so it should be interesting. I would like.
No,
they're all pistols.
Relief.
They're all pistols for God's sake, and we all need pistols now. Now is the time for pistols. But your opponent came out with some. Let's see what your opponent says, and then see what you have to say against him in response to his response. How about the shorter version of John Frankman's opponent? And you're running for what district in Florida?
So I'm running for Florida's 1st Congressional District. It's in Northwest Florida. It's the Panhandle. It's the most veteran densely populated district in the country. It has 5 military bases. It has Pensacola out to about Freeport. So really beautiful area. I live in Destin. It's just a treasure. It's known as the Lower Alabama and other things like that, but it's great.
I see it. It's kind of the cleanup part of, I think of it as a cleanup part of Florida compared to Georgia and Alabama. Sorry, Greg.
I know that area real well. I was stationed in Pensacola when I was on the Lexington, so I know all those places. You're right about all the bases there. Even Mobile, we would go to Mobile because it wasn't that far away, but that's Alabama. I get it. But yeah, that's a very fast growing area.
Oh yeah, no, fantastic area, fast growing, very, very military dense. You have a lot of tourism, especially in the summers. And it gets pretty muggy. So it's kind of funny that most of the tourists will come out between May and August when the weather is probably the least tolerable, but it's definitely a nice place. You get a little bit of both, whether it's tourist season or whether you're hanging out in the off season when it gets a little chilly, a little nippy, especially if you're in Ranger School or something like that, but it's a good place.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Bill, our producer in Hudson Valley, New York, please run video one, the shorter one of John Frankman's opponent.
Jake, do you want me to do it?
Everybody here in the room, I hope you're investors in this company, okay? Because if you're investors, you're shareholders. If you're shareholders, you get to spend some time with the CEO and you get to help steer the direction that this great state is going. Y'all, my friends, Byron Donald. Everybody here in the room.
Yeah. So that was Congressman Jimmy Patronis, I'm challenging for the primary. He was with Byron Donalds at a fundraising event, and he basically was telling the donors that if you donate money to Byron's campaign, then you're more or less a shareholder. So you're going to have more say in how policy is shaped, how the state is run. And I think that's just a very problematic view of what a representative or what a governor does. The view is rather that you're a representative for all of them, that your constituents are in effect your bosses because you go up to DC to do what they ask you to do to represent them. So I just think it's kind of a more problematic thing. And that's just someone speaking kind of plainly of how they think, just kind of with the defenses down. What are you actually thinking? And I think just having that kind of view of political office is a problematic view.
Yeah, absolutely. How about this second video? Let's jump into that one.
John, we want the one with the 57-minute one with the you talking. It starts out the thumbnails with you talking, or do we want the 2-minute and 22-second one?
2-minute, 20-second one.
Okay, here we go.
We're on there. So, lifelong Republican, going through Trump, all 3 elections. One of the biggest issues I see right now, especially with my generation, I like the young Toledo and the Gen Z generation, is a lack of faith in our institutions. I'm sorry, a lack of faith. Yeah, we have no faith in our institutions. Honestly, even though I'm here because I believe there is still hope. Yeah, broken field. Many of you have already checked out. Sure, like it's done. Now, on that note, one of the biggest reasons I voted for Trump was to return to mom. And right now, with the way that things are going with the Epstein files, it's really creating a lot more frustration with anybody.
You know, every document is out there. You just got to, if you want to go see what's there, you can go look at. I have no desire to see the smut that's in those documents. I feel like in my charge, I was elected to try to vote in a way to keep our country from spinning itself into giving more debt to our kids. And, you know, I'm glad they're out there, but I really want to move on away from something that I feel like is a dark rose chapter of America where a dead pedophile was controlling the agenda of the United States of America. So that's, I mean, I'm glad they're out there, but I'm going to go to work. And I feel like there's no more work to be done on those documents.
Well, I understand that we have a dead pedophile, but at the same time, particularly for the victims, and I worked at the military sexual trauma counselor round. So I
don't want to re-traumatize those victims, putting their names out the public domain either.
their names don't have to be out there, but accountability is something that is so important. And if we know that there are people who are perpetrator, who have harmed children, we need accountability. You know, saying, hey, this was dark, and the people that were engaged in this behavior are going to be held accountable because we have a higher standard. That is important.
Well, and I get there's the trauma that I deal with has been more on the side of people that have been first responder dealing with PTSD, and so I get very sensitive about re-traumatizing somebody about open wound. I just want to go to work, and every day that we deal with this issue, I'm afraid we're just not get focused on trying to save our country. They're out there. People want to read them, they can read them.
Yeah, so I think that's just kind of a problematic take. There certainly is more work to be done with the documents, and I can't think of a more important thing than to take care of, protect children, especially when there's a two-tiered justice system where the powerful, the elites, those are the ones that we have basically gotten away with this child sexual abuse, trafficking. I mean, it's not possible that Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell just trafficked children to themselves, and they're the only 2 who we've arrested so far. So there's a lot more work to be done.
John, can you give people that haven't had the pleasure of listening to you twice before a background, as to your background, former Green Beret?
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
would have been a priest, right?
I spent some time in seminary too. So, I mean, basically, more recently, I was a Green Beret. I was forced out of the military for not getting the COVID shot. That's what got me into politics. Not so much I got into politics, but politics got into me when it affected my job. But before going on active duty, I spent 4 years in Catholic seminary. So I was indeed studying to become a Catholic priest. For Catholics, the seminary is a place where you discern what God's call is. You don't necessarily know it, but you have that kind of inkling and idea. And it wasn't until after my 4th year that I discerned that was not what God was calling me to do. So I went from the seminary, loving that formation, to going on to active duty as an infantry officer first, going through infantry basic officer leadership school, Ranger school, then airborne school, and then trying out for special forces and going through the special forces qualification course. SEER, survival, evasion, resistance, and escape, military free fall. And then after going through the whole shot fiasco, that's what really got me into politics, was advocating for service members negatively impacted by the shot mandate. And it was while writing op-eds, going on TV interviews, and going up on the Hill especially, that I would interact with different congressmen, their staffs. And I just thought there was so much common sense stuff that's not getting done that we need to do better. So that kind of planted the seed, that desire for me to, if possible, if the opportunity presented itself, serve in that capacity in some day. And I'm running right now because we have the House, the Senate, the majority, and nothing's getting done. It's been one of the least productive sessions for Republicans in years, if not decades. We're squandering this opportunity, and we have a number of existential crises that we're facing. Sure, could I wait my turn and climb the political ladder? Absolutely. But I'm not an establishment guy, and the establishment is what's gotten us into this problem where we're $39 trillion in debt. We have to get way more serious about deportations. And we need to make sure that our freedoms, liberties are protected in the future, because we went through the biggest infringement on our personal liberties in our lifetime over the course of the last 6 years. So very short-term memory span. And we need to make sure that while we have power, we take care of it and kind of affect change that's not so easily taken from Democrats, because we know once they get back in power again, we're going to just go towards the cliff in a much faster rate.
Right.
Well, that's a fact. That's their cycle: destroy everything and then cause us the next 5 to 10 years to rebuild everything they destroyed. That's been a cycle going on since Carter, actually since Johnson. But Reagan's first term was dedicated.
Virginia's a prime example.
Yep.
Virginia's a prime example. You went from Northern, who had a Klan outfit on or blackface. You didn't know which one, would begs you to question how many times have you worn a Klan outfit or blackface if you didn't know what you had on that day. So you go from there to Glenn Youngkin, who turns the state around. But the short-term memory and the uniparty apparatus that we have out here, which I think John is speaking to, we go and say, okay, let's go spam burger. Why spam burger?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do the math, but now I need to do the math. So how quickly we forget, and like you just said, John, if they get back in the power, Clinton, if they get back in the power, we're going to go down that hill so darn fast. It's going to be unbelievable. John, before we get back into talking, can I play your promotional video? Do you mind?
Sure. Yeah, go for it. That's fine with me. I'm running to represent the people of Northwest Florida, not Washington insiders, and to deliver real America First policies. To get on the ballot, I need to collect 2,564 valid petition signatures from registered Florida voters, or pay a steep $10,440 qualifying fee. I'd rather earn my spot the grassroots way, with your help. Here's how you can help right now. Print a petition form, fill it out completely, and mail it back to the campaign. Or stop by one of these local spots and sign in person. JoJo's in Niceville, 3P Fitness and Pace, or CrossFit SRC in Milton. If you own a business and want to host petitions for voters to sign, DM me. I'd be happy to drop them off and promote your support. I can't beat the establishment alone. This campaign runs on the backs of regular patriots like you. If you believe Northwest Florida deserves a real fighter in Congress, help me get on that ballot today. Thank you. Let's take this district back. God bless you, and God bless America.
I'm glad people have some idea of where you're coming from. Believe me, I've run into some people, be it a few, but some that have the same thought of mind as you do, because they have commitment, both to the country and to God. So, both are high on my priority list, and if they're high, they should be high on your priority list. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, for a motto for this election, came up with fighter for faith and freedom. And I think that really embodies what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring God up to DC, godly values. And I want to use all that seminary formation I had, all the spiritual formation I had, to bring it up there, to try to legislate those precepts that are in accordance with the natural law that kind of come from our faith, as well as to fight for the liberties and freedoms which our country tries to secure, which are always under threat, which haven't been more under threat than we've seen in the last 5-6 years, which we're forgetting so quickly. So that's definitely what I'm trying to get after.
Yes, sir. Now, when is there's a preliminary, and then there's is there a preliminary election?
So we have our primaries are in August 18th. So Florida has a late primary, and it's winner take all. It's not, you don't need 50% or more. It's just whichever candidate gets the most votes. So August 18th, and then early voting I think should start August 3rd. So definitely trying to get out there every day, make myself known, just hustle and bustle to try to work for the seat.
But we got to get it as many live signatures as possible by May 6th, right?
Yeah, as an internal goal for my campaign, we're just trying to get everything in the next week or two, or really the next week. So if someone is in Florida and watching this, if they want to download a petition, they're able to, and they can fill it out and send it to my campaign address. And that's in that social media video. So I think you guys have the social media video, so you can certainly link that when you post this video, and that should have all the information everybody needs.
I think if you were able to spend 5 minutes with John Frankman, you would come back with a impression that this is the guy we got to go with. This guy's just going to get things done. Look what he's done already with his short life so far. We've got to grab onto this guy and hang on as far as we can, because we're going nowhere but up and toward country first and God first. So anyway, do you guys have any other questions relative to John and how he got to where he's at
John,
now?
I can attest that you're not in the fight alone. There's a lot of people that are behind you on this, and in the same kind of doctrine in which God and country first, and not self-enrichment. So you're one of the candidates that I know, a few in Florida, and I know the ones who are swamp creatures. Same goes for California. I'm helping a woman out there as well, and they all have the same belief that using a common sense solution to overthrow these problems. The problem is it's not really the candidates, it's the voters that are voting wrong, such as what Jake was saying earlier, in which Virginia completely went backwards, just like my state, New Jersey. I mean, it's already an armpit. It just turned into a stinkier armpit. We went from a guy who said you can't have, you got to get the Kung Flu jab, put this poison in you, otherwise he'll call you a numbskull. And then you can't have a plastic straw. You can't have a plastic bag, because the fishies might eat it and die, all because of a Dunkin' Donuts in Atlantic Highlands. Whoopie-doo. But he's penalized the entire state. You would think that people would have learned from this, but no. They went ahead and voted for basically another governor 2.0, an extreme commie. I can't say the word because I'm allowed to anymore. But yeah, and she was Navy. I was Navy. But I'll tell you what, got in my vote. And now Virginia's going to suffer. New Jersey's suffering. But you've got a lot of candidates that are running exactly the same kind of ticket you are in different districts, not an opponent to you. So you're not alone in that fight. And I think we just got to convince the voters. That's it.
Yeah. And that's the difficult part, right? I think that if everybody was aware of who I am and what I stand for, and then my primary opponent, the incumbent, that they would probably come to a similar conclusion, right? Maybe onesies or twosies not. Right. But there's just that kind of apathy where a lot of people don't necessarily do as much research as they're supposed to. And money and the establishment and everything really plays such a part in politics. Just your ability to send out 5-10 mailers, have television ads, and they can tailor it however they want. But a lot of people won't necessarily go and do the hard work of really researching, really figuring it out, getting to know the candidates. I mean, if anybody wants to meet me, they certainly can. I'm going to be around. They can message me directly within the district. I'm not so popular now that that's not something that's possible. And even, God willing, if elected, plan to have in-district town halls, something that the current representative has not done yet. He just does kind of phone town halls, which I think recently started after I started primarying him, probably just because of that reason. But yeah, it's a difficulty.
John, I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, if there's anything that an existing candidate fears, it's being primaried.
Yeah. Well, and he should for good reason, because just really hasn't been getting the job done.
know, I don't know if you remember, John, but when you were on here before, when you took the, as a result of the COVID stuff, I actually wanted you to run back then. And that was some years ago. And I think we put it up on the pocket. I'm going to find it because I'm going to use it as an ad one time. I'm going to put it up here. I wanted John Frankman to run. But here's the thing. You was against the COVID check. You can see that your opponent in that one video clip that you just played, he's selling shares in Florida's future. That's what he just said. He said, if you pay for me, you'll have stock into me screwing the rest of the Floridians over. That's basically what he's saying. And that's what we need to change. We know monies and things of that nature. It was an uphill climb for you, and it's still an uphill climb for you. But you just look at what you stood for back then, and now today or yesterday, you find out that you were right because the top advisor for Fauci just was indicted and arrested. They're deleting all of the information. You know, no one wants to know. We had Deb Conrad on here. We had Lieutenant Colonel Teresa Long on here. We talked about all these things, and now we're finding out that these people literally committed murder. So it should be a statute of limitations because they all knew what you knew, and what you didn't have your support was that forced jab that Glenn was just talking about.
Yeah. I mean,
jab.
Right. It was pretty clear back then that it wasn't safe. It wasn't effective. I think anyone who was looking at any alternate media, now certainly it was a confusing time, and we can't necessarily go blame people, think we're better in some way, shape, or form. Right? It was just an awful time. Hopefully, everybody learned a lesson, wherever they were, whether they didn't get the shot, got the shot, etc. But we need to learn those lessons. We need to have accountability so that we can move forward and ensure something like this doesn't happen again. But it was kind of no question in my mind that viable options for preventative measures and alternative medicines were working and functional against COVID. One, that COVID wasn't as dangerous as we all thought. Two, the shot itself was often posed a danger and has a greater side effects that happen, as we can see through the vaccine adverse events reporting system. And then that you had these other kind of alternative treatments that would kind of really help you if you were sick, or preventative measures to really kind of keep you from getting it to any measurable degree.
John, you brought up at the beginning of the show. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Greg.
Go ahead, Glenn. I'll wait.
No, mine was just comedy relief and letting everybody know that after about 4 days, I didn't see the bring out your dead cards. So I walked around without a mask and my middle finger up saying I'm immune from libtardation. And it worked. They tried to threaten me with the police and everything. And I said, go right the hell ahead. Go ahead. Make my day. Go ahead, Greg.
And that was California? Was that in California, Glenn?
No, Jersey.
Jersey, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I remember you saying you were helping the woman out in California, so that's what threw me off.
Oh, I am. Yeah, I help everybody across the country. I mean, I'm all the way up at the administration levels. And that's why I'm saying I know about all these different candidates from various campaigns that are definitely fighting the same fight you are. You know, and they're trying to get in either as a first timer or renewing their campaigns, rerunning again, so on and so forth. So, but go ahead, Greg.
Oh, I was just going to ask, he brought up at the beginning of the show about the quagmire that we have right now in Congress and Senate, in the Senate, with them not, getting anything done. I was wondering what your idea is, why they aren't getting anything done.
I mean, I think that, and it sounds really cynical, but it seems like a lot of Republicans are just more concerned about staying in office than they are about actually affecting any measurable change. And there's a bit of a laziness there too. Like maybe they're just happy to be in office than they are feeling driven to actually accomplish things, because coming in, I mean, they come in on January 1st. They don't have to wait till January 20th when the president is sworn in. They should have I'm sorry.
That's right.
They should have had a number of bills and legislation lined up of what President Trump ran on, basically the agenda that got the popular vote. So why are we now focusing on voter ID and the SAVE Act? Why wasn't that something that was done last year? Why are we waiting until there's a primary or there's midterms that are happening, and now it's politically expeditious for Democrats to slow step it So I kind of question to a great extent. And whenever they do offer legislation, often it seems like a half measure of some sort. So I mean, you hear some congressmen talking about how some of the good ones, that there's maybe 20, 30 good ones, 20, 30 bad ones, a bunch of others that are just kind of following along. And I think that we just have a lot of kind of more establishment type of Republicans who just want to go along, follow the party line. And that just really hasn't been productive.
No, it hasn't been productive. And there's a lot of things that they're doing, but there's also slow walking going on because it's based on political strategy. So, you know, that's all part of a marketing mind, in which if we start to push something at a certain time, it'll help trigger something else later. And you're asking why it wasn't done last, it's being done this. That would probably be the answer as to that. But I agree with you. All of this is all common sense stuff that should have been handled immediately. And I think as far as the GOP candidates, yes, a lot of them are complacent right now, thinking, oh, well, I'm in power and, you know, my shit don't stink and I'm going to do what I want. Let me go do fundraisers for my campaign or something like that. And they're not thinking about us, the citizens. Yeah. So that's why you have people like me. I whenever I'm at these dumb events, I'm always pointing it out to them. Why aren't you doing your job? You know, and now, guys, by the way, I wore this shirt just to be into, I don't know if you can read it, but okay, since I was always wearing a suit, I figured I had my brothers here and just wear a shirt. All right. And that's the point you have to make to all these politicians. It's like, you're there to serve me, not me to serve you. And you're there to do a job. And if you don't get the job done, somebody else will do it. And unfortunately, it'll probably be a Democrat in my state, because they're just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And you're not. That's what you have to remind them.
Well, Glenn, in regards to your shirt, that was what America was built on. You know, you have to work harder. You earn to keep, no one give you anything.
Right.
John, as far as your party line,
right.
I'm a little bit more of a cynic. I think it's the uniparty line. And what I believe they're doing is they're just waiting President Trump out, both sides. That's my take on it. Because it's like you said, you didn't even have to wait for Trump to be elected if that was your conservative value, whether it was the SAVE Act or something else, Save America Act or something else. You could have had all that stuff written up while you sitting while the Democrats so far was in power. We saw that they could have a president who didn't know left from right, and they still was in the country for 4 years or whatever the hell they were doing, and stealing money basically. So I think it's the uniparty apparatus that's keeping anything from getting done. You keep telling me about these 80-20, 90-10 issues. Why does someone go to Congress, whether it's the Senate or the House, and not vote for an 80-20, 90-10 issue, like the Save America Act, like no men and women sports? I don't understand it. Why is it so tough?
Well, like the Epstein files too, right? I mean, that wasn't even taken to a vote until Thomas Massie just went full ham and decided to do the discharge petition for it. And you only had a few Republicans actually switching. So it's not, it's certainly, I think Democrats are obviously in their ideology, what they say they believe is crazy, and it doesn't really work in the real world. Men being women, women being men, just the slaughter of innocent children through abortion. But with Republicans in that instance, it's like, why didn't you guys sign the discharge petition earlier? So it is kind of both sides. And I think that Republicans now having power, they have to look at themselves. They have to look in the mirror every day and say, why isn't more getting done? What party get across the finish line? And I remember Matt Gaetz being frustrated when he was in Congress and I'm running for his seat. It's his seat that's now occupied by Jimmy Patronis. But he was kind of saying, yeah, for what we need to do, we don't have the team to get the wins we want. So you need to get the team up there. I can't do this alone. One, I can't win this alone. I need the help of others, but most importantly, I need the help of God. But then even God willing, get up there, I'm going to need the help of other courageous, common sense, America first congressmen to really push stuff across the finish line and get some wins for America. Because I think, right now it seems like we're just kind of on a slower trajectory towards kind of self-implosion and destruction. I don't think that we're necessarily moving in the right direction with where the debt is, with the illegal still being here and other things going on. I think we really need to work to turn the ship around. I think it's just a slower process towards that rather than a full turning around and fixing things.
Well, look at the filibuster. They said, "Oh, we don't want to
you're
use
right.
the filibuster." You know darn well. I don't even know if they're going to be in office an hour before they nuke the filibuster.
Well,
I swear I do. And we're right to nuking the filibuster. We know that's going to happen. So why are we fighting that, in your opinion?
I mean, right now, I'd be worried about getting rid of the filibuster just because I don't think that Republicans are strong enough to, like, I don't think they've shown that they have anything worth passing that's worth nuking the filibuster and then giving Democrats that excuse. I think that Rep. Scott Perry, he had kind of the best solution, which is let's put the filibuster up as a constitutional amendment. And if Democrats go for it and they vote for it to be a constitutional amendment, then great. That's something that just can't be broken. You need the 60 vote threshold apart from those different loopholes about funding, budget, et cetera. But that would give more protection where Congress can pass less laws. We want Congress to, we want it harder for them to pass laws than to not pass laws. And then if they reject the filibuster, then it's like, okay, you don't want to have the filibuster as a constitutional amendment. Let's go ahead. We're going to break the filibuster. We're going to, break it. And we're going to just go ham getting all of the priorities that our party ran on and won on in 2024.
That's a good point. I didn't hear Scott Perry's.
No, that's smart. That's smart thinking. Hey, what would Cory Booker do without the filibuster? You know, remember he was crapping his pants and whizzing on himself for 24 hours straight, right? Because he's Spartacus, remember?
Oh yeah.
His wife is all like cheerleader for him now. What would he do? I mean, he doesn't do anything else except rape men in a men's bathroom. I'm sorry, was I supposed to say that? But yeah, he hasn't done anything else for Bennett.
You know, look at the father whose daughter was raped by a transgender in the bathroom in Virginia, and he went to discuss it. It was dragged out. How soon do we forget all these things? And that's why we need someone like John. Like I said, I didn't hear that Scott Perry argument, but we need new ideas, and we need people who's going to fight for new ideas, not just people who want to go along to get along, and then nothing gets done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jake, we're in the TikTok generation and Vine videos where their attention span are only about 5 seconds. They're not going to remember what happened 3 weeks ago. And I'm not kidding. It's sad. It really is, where they're now dragging out that Omar turned around and called it World War XI. Okay. Everybody's already forgotten that AOC told NASA to land on the sun at night. That, you know, because why? That happened maybe 10 years ago. That's an ancient history in today's generation. That's why we have to keep these things up in the news, at least 24/7. Their attention spans only last about 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
What's Johnson talking about Guam till it over? I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But are you getting any pushback? I know John Lee has some New York candidates running before Republicans. They were getting pushback. I know you're doing the primary right now. They were getting severe pushback from the party. Are you feeling any of that pressure or pushback from the party?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not looked kindly upon to challenge an incumbent, right? That's usually frowned upon unless there's some egregious. I mean, even with Tony Gonzalez, you saw that he was still being backed by a number of people, even though he had the affair with one of his staffers, and the staffer ended up committing suicide later on. Fortunately, ended up dropping out, so that we now have Brandon Herrera in that spot. But I mean, the pushback is it makes it harder to campaign. It makes it harder to fundraise. So when I ran in the race last year, I was the first candidate in the race. The seat was open. Trump had not yet endorsed Patronis. So a number of people wanting to work with you, fundraiser, et cetera. And now at this point, there's even people who won't work with you if you're going against a Trump endorsed candidate. So that's one of the difficulties.
John, I wanted to ask you a question. So How do you feel about political action committees and how do they impact candidates?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be very, very careful of who you take money from, because they're going to want something from you. And it's kind of what Patronis was saying in that video, is he saw donors as shareholders who steer policy, who talk to the CEO, that is either the representative or the governor or whoever is taking the money. And it's just very unfortunate how much influence they have on politicians, how much money influences politics, right? So I know that Matt Gaetz, when he was congressman, he was often trying to push for term limits and not having special interest group money involved in politics. He didn't take any PAC money, which amazing. And he also was pushing for no insider trading. So you have to look at human nature as being, it can generally be good. It's good and bad, right? I mean, depending on how reformed of a Protestant or Calvinist you are, versus maybe if you're more in the Catholic view that original sin wounded nature, didn't destroy it. But that's just to say that knowing human weaknesses, putting in those checks and balances so that power can't corrupt a person to such a great extent, because people will often go towards their weaknesses, their debilitating kind of vices. So how can you do that? I mean, we looked at it when we had the 3 branches of government. That was one way to put the checks and balances in. But right now, the incentive for a politician is to just continue to get reelected. It's to continue to try to adhere to what their benefactors, their big donors want them to do, because money is so tied to politics. So I think you try to change the system as you can, make that kind of reform for elections, for how much money and what money and where it comes from. One thing that most people are really concerned about, which has gotten me some traction, is usually on social media, the question I get the most is, will I take AIPAC money? And I'm not going to take AIPAC money. I think that they're lobbying on behalf of a foreign country. And that's, if you want to be America first, that's where you should draw the line. That's where you have to draw the line. So it's not favoring or not favoring any particular country. It's just putting America first. And when our values align and our interests and goals align with another country's, then great, let's work together. Let's make it happen. When it doesn't, we definitely don't want even the influence or the appearance of influence to be shown where we are now favoring or doing something on behalf of another country when it is not to our benefit. And I think giving out of just millions, billions of dollars to other countries, that hurts us when we're $39 trillion in debt.
Yeah, I agree. I was trying to get my head around how the PACs work. And so I picked the 2, which I picked AIPAC, and then I also picked Democracy PAC, which was Soros PAC. And I was looking at them both and then trying to figure out what the rules were on how much a candidate's allowed to spend and what they're allowed to spend it on. And then it gets the rules get real murky on that. I don't know if you have yourself researched into it.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, but I'm much more grassroots, so I haven't dealt with that kind of money being thrown at me or something. That's usually, when you're, let's say, God willing, win the primary, that's when everybody's going to come around and I'll be the new girl on the block everybody wants to talk to, right? And buy nice things for. But if you have your normal PAC, they can donate up to, I think, $5,000 to a candidate per election cycle, maybe $10,000 if it's the primary and the general. And that's directly to the candidate, but they can also potentially spend money on behalf of the candidate running ads, but that's something where you're not talking to that PAC itself. And then you have the super PACs that can give whatever amount of money. But yeah, that's also why you hire good consultants and campaign managers. And if you're listening, Logan and Chelsea, very grateful to have you, because I don't know all those rules. I'm just trying to be the candidate. And it's very much like being a Green Beret captain, a detachment commander, where you're leading the team, but you're not the expert in everything. You're using your leadership to guide those resources to pass the message on to accomplish the goals that you need to do. So even though I'm running as an individual candidate and very much quarterbacking it, it's a team effort. So very grateful to all of my employees and all my volunteers.
Thanks, John.
And you missed it. John actually took your place for it again. Quick little bit of levity there. But anyway, speaking of that captain running that ship, has your team looked at the number? I know me and Greg talked about this. the number of people in Congress that are taking AIPAC money and the percentage? Did you check on the percentages?
I mean, my team isn't looking into it. I think that there's a lot of those stats out there, and I think it's a large portion Republicans and Democrats who are. But overwhelmingly, for the Gen Z people, young folks, they are not happy with it. They want America first. They feel sold out at this point. They're very concerned that our politicians aren't doing what's in their best interest, and they're graduating from college with a lot of debt without having a job lined up or a way to get a job, and wage increase has not kept up with inflation. And it's the fault of politicians for spending trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars to where we're 39 trillion in debt. And they're seeing money being given to foreign countries when they don't have a job, and infrastructure is going downhill here. So the American dream is much more remote and difficult for them than it is for my generation, and it's more difficult for my generation than it is for my fathers and grandfathers. But that's just how it is.
That's your opponent.
That's a fact.
Do you know
Rick, when you look at your children, they're roughly the age that are going to be impacted by John Frankman's efforts, politically positive. What can you think of the largest positive contribution he can make to their political future? As a human being.
I mean, first and foremost, it's bringing faith into politics, right? So I'm not going to win without God's help. I'm not going to affect any positive change without God's help. And a lot of people say that culture is downstream from politics, but I want to bring politics or culture to politics. I want to use the faith background I have in legislating, and also as kind of a public figure to really teach and show and instruct about moral virtues and how our faith and the natural law influence what's better for society. But the big impacts and change that I'm fighting for, that I need other people to help with, that we absolutely need to do, paying down the federal deficit and ending the Fed, and just getting back to some kind of a backed money system, getting away from this fiat money that can just be printed off in the trillions of dollars. That's why there's affordability crisis. It's not that our houses are worth more. It's not that our food's worth more. It's that our dollar is worth less. And that's going to continue to be the case as we continue to spend money. So if we can get to a balanced budget amendment, if we can pay off the federal deficit, that's going to help the economy. Also, fighting for our freedoms. I will fight for a medical freedom amendment where no one can be mandated to take any drug outside of their will. That absolutely needs to happen. And I think our founding fathers would have never absolutely imagined what's happening to us or happened to us in the last 5 years, where our government mandated people take an experimental shot that injured and killed many. It's just absolutely absurd. And now you still have, even in this area, we have Catholic schools that are requiring people to get shots, even though the parents of the kids don't want them to. I think it needs to be a federal amendment. I think we need to hold the drug companies accountable, and that's going to do a lot for people's health. And the other one is just straight up accountability. So if we can go after the Epstein class, the people in the documents, just go all out in investigating and figuring out who was in those documents, what did they do. We need to do that in order to break whatever elites are keeping us from finding out what's happening. If they have any kind of influence or control over government, I can tell you, a pedophile is not the moral person you want running your country. So we need to get after it there.
Good. I've noticed since you've been in Washington running around in political circles, maybe it's me, but the heightened awareness of a higher being has been present. Whether you feel it, a lot of us feel it, because you've taken the effort to say, hey, there's a high value person up there. Have you felt the same thing? Has there been a twist a little bit and the way people's outlook at a higher being.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much people in DC necessarily are sensing that. I think you go through moments, and I think that the death of Charlie Kirk, a lot of people turned to God. Our churches were very full, but some of that effect seems to have kind of slowed down a little bit. Maybe young people are still staying active, but some of the positives that came from such a dark, tragic thing. Because even through Jesus Christ, his life, death, and resurrection, his crucifixion came the greatest good that we could have. So same with kind of the martyrdom of Charlie Kirk, where his life is such a light and example. But I don't know how much I'm seeing folks turning to God. I think, I think that maybe there's a group that's maybe a little bit more concerned about some moral issues, so they're not necessarily towing the party line on everything. So young people, they're getting into more traditional churches. I think that Gen Z, there's more Catholics than there are Protestant Christians coming into the church. So those are some kind of interesting things, but like by and large, our culture has a very long way to go, especially for all the sins and atrocities we've committed through abortion, transgenderism, other atrocities.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's just a casual observer looking at a grouping of young men and women your age seem to, they gather on that more so than do older people. And I just felt that you felt it up close. I know you can see that some of it is actually bleeding off on other people.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them finally realize what is important.
We need a
Yeah.
rush in DC to clean up that scum laid arch faith right now. The Lord's going to have to really do something to clean up, which I'm sure they can. What are your thoughts on lawfare? Because I think part of this SAVE Act and everything else, and part of maybe even what John's talking about, faith. Part of our founders, everything was built on faith. And like you said, they would have looked forward 250 years. I don't think they saw this picture. And part of the problem I see coming, besides some of the statements of the Pope recently, is that lawfare, that judicial lawfare, that public service lawfare. How do we combat that?
Yeah, I mean, that's holding people accountable. And that's where, when we were about a year into Biden's administration, we had about 1,500 political arrests. And I consider the January 6ers who were tried mercilessly and all their rights were stripped away. They didn't get bail. They just trumped up charges, just insanity, right? But those were some political arrests. And we've seen some departments and agencies of our federal government going after conservatives, going after people who don't toe the party line. And that needs to be addressed. There needs to be accountability for that. I was hoping for more arrests at this point in the administration. I'm happy to see Fauci's advisor. Like that's a good thing to go after. But for the amount of weaponization of the federal government that's happened against conservatives, we just aren't seeing much at all. And part of it also is just too large of a federal government. I mean, I'm a big believer. I would love to get to DC and have less power when I leave office because the federal government and its powers have shrunk. That is what I would like to see. I think
exactly. We had a doctor. Who was that female doctor we recently had?
Long.
That what? No, he was wearing a black jacket. She's of the same mindset as he is, and Teresa Long, for that matter.
Yeah.
She wants to leave with a better place under her belt, but she's a fighter, just like John is. What's her name? Do you remember her name? Dr. Mitzlava?
Oh, Judy Mikovich.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know her. Yeah, she's very, very solid fighter. She was in Plandemic. But yeah, she comes down to this area every now and then. The Panhandle's a great place, but yeah, she's come down to the area. So yeah.
Yeah, she has.
She was on the show about 2 weeks ago.
She has guts. We had her on 3 weeks ago. or so.
Yeah. I was on the show with her on that one.
Now she's a fighter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're
John, I
right
say-
about the Panhandle, though. I like Panama City. That was a party town.
Yeah. Well, that is not within my district. Funny you bring it up. That's actually where my opponent is from, is Panama City. And there still are some rumors that he still lives there and hasn't really spent any time here. So.
Well, that would be the same thing as what Adam Schiff did, claims to live in one place. I mean, runs in one place, but claims to live in another, So
Yeah.
you might be able to get something on that one. But
well,
what
the
about
Democrat,
Fort Walton Beach?
I live right by Fort Walton Beach. I live in Destin. So Fort Walton Beach is 10, 15 minutes from my house. Yep.
You've
Good.
got a great
15
area.
minutes from your house. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy cow. That's great.
Oh yeah. I'm just 5 minutes from the beach. It's a good place.
Good area.
Keep you in shape, huh? Keep you in shape, Captain. If I can still call you Captain.
I'm sorry.
I say, if I can still call you Captain, keeps you in shape.
Trying to stay in shape. Yeah. It's a little trickier being
Well,
out of the
I'm
army.
supposed
but
to
I think
salute
that's
him.
right.
I'm only an E4,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Greg's trying to taste.
I even have to salute Greg over there. Greg, now I don't know if you know, Greg is our divine character. He can walk on air. He's done it before. He's walked out into the clouds. He'll just get up and walk away out into the clouds.
Mhm.
So, you're talking about God being controlling us. He's sitting right there. No, I'm kidding, Greg. I can't put you as God, but you're up there with him.
Glenn
So-
lives about 15 minutes from disaster area in Tennessee. Oh my God, man. 1 minute he's recovering from mudslides. The next minute he's at a shooting contest of epic proportion. So you got to give him credit for that. But John Frankman, to take on this aspect of his life and help all of us is really a big job, and he's tackling it very well.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Well,
you.
he's right on point with all of what we're talking about with Gen Z and everything like that and morality. But let me tell you, all the kids are going back to church. You just may not see it. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but we were doing this show at the time Charlie Kirk was shot. And I personally knew him. And it really kind of pissed me off because I had just started to do things for a big movement in what, not so much that it was religious based, but more conservative based. And when you were talking about the January 6ers, I'm very good friends with Stuart Rhodes. So if anybody suffered more, it was him. He was the founder of the Oath Keepers. And I know Enrico and the other guys too, and Ivan Rakelin and all of us.
Oh, I know Ivan well.
talked.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ivan, I stayed at his house and hung out with him and Stuart one day. I think I showed you guys the picture, just a bunch of guys bumming out. But they're great people, and they should not have been persecuted the way they were. They weren't even at the Capitol. So that right there should prove
That's
that
my
we have
problem with the lawfare is the fact that there has not been enough accountability for the J6.
Right.
They literally put those people in jail for 4 years. And
Yeah.
there has not been any accountability for that. I mean, the first people that should have been arrested or indicted or whatever you want to do, the investigation should have been those people. You put grandmoms and everyone. You destroyed families. And it's ridiculous. Cody and this Stewart, they did all those things, and we haven't seen anything yet. They still, right now, they're talking about
And I still think the cops but Jake, as I told you, the DC cops were complicit in all of this because I had been there a month earlier at the Back to Blue rally and watched their dry run of what they were going to do at January 6th. And now I'm kind of grateful that I didn't go to January 6th because I was watching how they were routing us through the streets when it should have been a 3-block walk. It turned into a 10-block walk, purposely to wear us down. And they forced us to walk through BLM Plaza. And then we saw people getting knocked out. with a chain, you know, and a padlock in the back of their head. I walked right into the crowd and took them on just to protect the old people. The cops did nothing but stand there and laugh. And that's why I told them to their face. I got right in their face and told them, you need to do your job. I'm doing your job for you. And they didn't do it. So, like I said, to this day and age, I have zero respect. And who started January 6th was that fat faggot that was up on the steps up there who fired the smoke grenade that detonated next to a grandmother and a little 6-year-old girl on the ground. It burned their legs and everything. Where's the accountability for that fat faggot?
Yeah.
I really would like to see him punched, his face punched in.
I think it was a pandemic. I think the
Of course
protest was done. And we have Republican president. We have Republican judiciary. We have Republican Senate. You know, we can say what happened that day, but there's been no accountability from our so-called conservative body. How can you say you're going to protect America when you couldn't protect the constitutional rights of the people on January 6th?
Good point.
So we got to do something about that. We need to do it immediately. And it's no time. I mean, I know we're worrying about the midterms right now, and we need to turn. We don't need Patronis. I'm sorry, I'm a Republican. You're a Republican. We need people who want to go out there and fight and not sell shares to the office, whether it's AIPAC or some sort of corporation. We need people who's going to fight for our constitutional rights. We need people who are faith-based. And John, that's you. I don't want to do your platform because I know I watched you already when you first refused to do the combat shot. I know, and it was for your troops. Everything you're doing has been about serving others and not serving yourself. Even what you just said, when I leave, I'm going to have less power than when I went in. You want to give the power, which is what is supposed to be back to the people, not to the Congress. You can speak on your own behalf. I'm sorry.
No, absolutely. Definitely see it as a call to service. I'm doing it because I think it's what God wants me to do. And I was intending on being the career military officer, and just through standing on faith and principle, that's what got me out of the military. And then it was just trying to advocate for service members. And, very much through prayer, discernment, I think he's put me on this journey. And I think there's a lot of good that I can do if God willing, I get elected. But I do pray to him to protect me, watch over me. I know a lot of people get corrupted up there, and to accept his will. If this isn't good for my soul, if this isn't going to be good for me, spiritual life with God, then, don't let this pass. But it certainly is something I believe it's worth fighting for. And even if it looks difficult, grim, dark, the future of the country, it's something that we all, we're called to fidelity, not necessarily to success. So we need to be faithful in our fight for this country and for our Christian values.
Right. Well, John, I can tell you, most of us, if not all of us, I am very proud of you taking the steps that you have to go forward and help us out, because you really are helping us out with those that don't know what the hell is going on. So thank you very much. I guess the producer wants us to knock off at 3. Is that right?
Yes, sir. John, do you have any final word before we cut short? And
sure.
It's currently going through at you.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for having me on. It's a great pleasure. Mine is a grassroots campaign. I'm going against an establishment candidate. We have the House, the Senate, the presidency, yet nothing's getting on. And we're just more slowly moving towards a trajectory of just destruction rather than turning the ship around. And I want to turn the ship around. I want to represent the people. And if people want to help out, they can go to my campaign website. They can go to frankmanforflorida.com. They can donate there. They can go to my shop. They can buy shirts, hats, bumper stickers, yard signs, whatever. But I can't do this without the help of just the grassroots individual person, which is who I want to fight for. And I'm fighting against big bucks, as we've seen in the video with Patronis and with Byron Donald. So please help give me the edge. I'll put in the work, and with God's help, we'll get this thing done. So thank you so much.
What's the website? What's the website? Can you spell it out?
Yeah, it is frankmanforflorida.com. So that's my last name, Frankman, for the word FOR, Florida, all spelled out, FLORIDA, frankmanforflorida.com.
Okay, Franklin for Florida. Don't
Frankman
forget
for
that.
Florida.
We'll blast that all over the place. And do you want to know how John really feels about some issues? You'll get a good handle on them. If you see LinkedIn just for 5 minutes, just take a look. You're going to understand where he's at. It brings a good meaning to it. Meaning to it. Probably better than any other. It's a short version. This is what is happening. So, okay. So Frank, again, Frank for John Frankman. Thank you very much. Glenn, thank you. Greg from Tennessee, thank you. Jake from Maryland, thank you. Appreciate it. John, if at all possible, your primary is November, right?
It's in August 18th. So
August
the primary
8th.
is in
Oh,
August.
God,
Yeah.
August 18th. I screwed that up. August 18th. Is there any way you would have a couple minutes before August 18th where you could get on, like even for 15 minutes, just so we can refresh people about John Frankman?
Yeah, we'll just be in touch and we'll figure out a good time for it. But yeah, we'll be in touch about that and see how it works with the
Okay.
schedule. Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. John, you've come to our aid before and you're coming to our aid now. So thank you.
All right. Thanks so much. All right. I'll see you guys
Good
later.
luck with the campaign.
Thank you. All right. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.